Hi everybody, this is Patty. We get a lot of questions here at BirdTricks, and one of my least favorite questions is about plucking. And the reason it's a least favorite question is because it's almost impossible to help people with their plucking problems. And the reason for that is there are no constants with plucking. Every single situation is unique and different. Every bird is different, every owner is different, every home that the bird lives in is different, the owner's lifestyle is all different. There's just nothing solid and consistent that you can grab a hold onto. And therefore, there are no experts about this really big problem we have with our companion birds. What it comes down to, pretty much, is your understanding that you're never going to really understand what's going on, and acknowledging that there are two reasons for plucking. One is a mental stressor and the other one is a physical stressor. The mental stressors are the boredom, for instance. Birds are really intelligent creatures, and to ask them to sit in an empty cage or sit in a cage full of toys that they don't play with and wait for their owners to come home is almost more than an intelligent being can endure, and they'll pluck because of it. Or they'll pluck to give themselves something to do as an alternative to sitting there with nothing to do. Another example of a mental stressor is fear-related things, and this could be almost anything. A noise that they hear consistently that's unsettling to them, something that they can see from their, line of sight from their cage that they have to deal with every single day. Examples of the noise thing. When people ask me about plucking, I always tell them to find out what's on the other side of the wall that their bird's cage is up against. And in one case, a lady had her bird's cage pushed up against a wall that was shared with their washer and dryer on the other side. And I don't know whether it was the noise of the dryer thumping around, or maybe it was the noise or the vibration from the spin cycle. Not sure, but she moved her bird, and that fix things for her. Another one was a lady had her bird pushed up against a wall that was on the outside, and it turns out there were squirrels in the wall. So that helped her fix up her problem. But I mean, it could be almost anything. The physical stressors, one of them is illness, which we are finding out more and more that birds that have illnesses are plucking, and this is kind of weird to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. It's actually good news to find out that your plucking bird has an illness, because now you have something that is defined and you know what's causing it, and you can actually, get medication for your doctor to fix it up. If it happens to be an illness that's diet-based, you'd work on the diet. And so you actually stand a chance of fixing it because you actually know what's causing it. And, barring any really bad news like PBFD or something like that, that's actually good news. Another physical stressor is hormonal plucking. Hormones make a lot of physiological changes to the body, and it winds up being both emotionally and physically stressful at the same time, and that's why they get grumpy and weird. I should probably point out that it is not normal for parrots to pluck during breeding season. There are bird species that do that. They make like brooder patches, and what they do is there's an area of their body where the area that actually would normally make contact with the eggs that they're laying on, and they pull out their feathers, and there's a network of veins that's really close to the skin, and the blood flow creates a lot of heat. And when there are no feathers there, there's no barrier to that heat, so that actually can add warmth to the eggs. And then they take the feathers they plucked out and they line their nest with them. Parrots do not do that, so that is not normal behavior for a parrot. So the first thing that you do if you have a bird that's plucking is you go to the vet and you try to eliminate any kind of reason, medical or physical reason for the plucking. And after that, then you start the search for environmental reasons, which is causing the mental stressors that is responsible for the plucking. So if you have a bird that has not been plucking and you go into your bird room and you look at the bottom of the cage, and then your breath catches in your throat when you see, oh my gosh, there's just too many feathers down there, and you know what this means. There's two courses of action that I would recommend that you take. One of them I'll call active distraction, and that is where when your bird would be plucking, you would try to introduce a better activity for it. And you have to be careful with this one. If you pay attention to the way that your bird does things, you are going to notice that there's probably a time of day where there's a lull in what's going on. You know, like normal birds might be choosing to preen or nap. Your bird might choose that time to pluck. What you need to do is get your bird before that happens so that you can take them out and do training with them or some kind of fun activity that kind of distracts them away from their desire to pluck. And you want to do it before they actually start the plucking, because otherwise that becomes a cue for take me out of the cage. So your bird will be thinking, I'd like to come out to play. If I start chewing on my feathers, my mom's going to come and get me and take me out and play, and you want to avoid that. The other thing, and this is huge, this works really well for a lot of people. I call it a like a drastic distraction. And this is when you take your bird's cage and you reposition it in the room that they're in, or move it into another room altogether. What you want to do is completely change the direction of the cage, have your bird be looking at something entirely different. And what this does is it kind of sets them off balance a little bit. It's a big change to their everyday life that, you know, causes them to have to refamiliarize themselves with the room and reassess everything. But they're doing it from the safety of their own cage. So it's not enough to kind of tip them over the edge into a meltdown. You don't want to go that far, but you do want to make your bird have to stop thinking about plucking altogether. This is kind of like a safety protocol for a bird, and it will override your bird's desire to pluck. And this is kind of your best chance to get this under control, because the longer that a plucking behavior goes on, the harder it is to stop it. And throughout, you're going to want to keep your search up to find out what the actual root of the problem is. And you may or may not ever find that. But in the meantime, you stand a chance of stopping it if you can get your bird thinking about something else. And that's the best advice that I can give you.